Tammy. I hope you're well. Today I thought that I would make a beginner video for, I apologize guys, there's just a lot of traffic that goes by my studio. I can't do anything about it, so if you hear it in the background, my deepest and most sincere apologies. But I wanted to do another board, and I have had a lot of messages about how I kept my colors in place and kept it from going over, and there's no real trick to that, but I thought what I would do is just do one from the very beginning. This particular board is super nice, very smooth, beautiful piece, and I just cut the tag that was on this end of it, and I'll probably put something else up there, but this came from who knows where. But anyways, I paid $12.99 for it, and so which isn't bad. And my last one I made for my daughter for Mother's Day, and she really loved it, and so today I thought I would do one in dark blues. This is a much smaller one than the other one that I had, but I had gotten this new pigment from Dryer Days Art Studio, the Color Joy collection, and this is their darkest blue color cream, and it is very midnighty blue in the jar. We'll see what it looks like when I mix it. And also I wanted to use the deep blue, which is more royally sapphire looking blue. I thought the two of those mixed together would be beautiful. And then I wanted to throw in, this is the only teal I had, and so I'm going to throw in a little bit of my aqua teal color. I don't even know where I got this from, but I do know that I've used a lot of it and it's almost gone. I may use some of my Aerodron. I love this. Not really sure. It's going to be how I feel about it as I go. And I may use, I just received some of this with a recent purchase to Dryer Days, and this is the Color Bay, beautiful colored lake glitter. But we'll see. We'll see how I'm feeling when I do my pour, whether or not I'm going to use that, if I'm going to go towards golds or no metallics at all. So we'll see, but I'm going to go ahead and prep the board first, and I do that with just painter's tape, and some people might do it with latex or some other process, but painter's tape or packing tape can work pretty well. You just have to be careful because sometimes that packing tape can have a very strong adhesive and it can pull off the finish on the other side. So I just need to decide first where I want my piece and how I want it to go on my board and lay my my tape out accordingly. This is going to be the back side. So you want to decide which side do you want the front, which side do you want the back, so that I think I want this side to be the back. I kind of like the way this looks. So I'm going to tape this side. And I'm just going to go across starting at the beginning. And don't be picky over where you lay your tape at, because we're going to trim it up after we've laid out our tape. And make sure you've just burnished that down really well. You want to overlap one piece to the other. And I just go all the way down as far, probably a little bit further than what I think I'm going to need it, just in case. So you can see I'm just overlapping and laying it down. And because this is a shorter board than my last one, a smaller board than my last one, I want to have, want to make sure that I don't take away too much of the area that might be useful to them later. But this is only my back side, and I'm only doing this as a protective measure for when I pour on the other side. But just keep that in mind when we go to the other side, how far you really want to go down. And we'll mark that area with some tape, just to eyeball it. I think that's pretty good. All right, now I'm going to do my handle here. Right now, I'm just going to add my tape like this. And I really don't want to get resin on this little piece of, I don't know if I can show you here. I really don't want to get resin on that little piece of metal, but it's going to come through when I pour. So there's not a whole lot I can do too much about that. So we'll we'll see what our best outcome is. I apologize if I was off screen there, guys. Move my setup over a little bit. Hopefully that's gotcha. All right, so I'm just trying to create some coverage, and then I'm going to go back and trim those areas. You might have to make more than one pass, but that's okay. This one has kind of a curved edge, and it's really going to kind of help that resin pour over the side. If you don't want that, then you need to be sure to cover your sides some. And I don't mind it. I want it to do what it's going to naturally do. So I'm going to just trim mine so that it's as close to the, so I know at least it's covered the bottom. Get this tape off my finger. But you need to decide how you want your board to look. Maybe you would rather have the clean edges. And this could easily be done with a X-Acto knife as well. I'm not as sharp as I used to, as I usually am, guys. Still recovering from having that surgery, and but it's okay. I'm actually so much better. I might get my knife. This is like watching water boil. All right, guys, I'm going to finish trimming this up neatly, and I'll come right back, okay? Okay, guys, I'm done with masking off the back of my board. I have burnished everything down pretty well, and this one was just a harder one to do, but it's prep, and it's important to do the prep. So I prefer using the tape because a latex mask could be something, a latex could be something that someone's allergic to, and latex has certain proteins in it that can leave traces behind. And if someone actually used this board, you don't want to risk any chance that if someone has a latex allergy, that they're going to come in contact with that. So I just use my handy dandy tape, and it works pretty well for my application. But that's just me. You do what you do your research, and decide how you want to protect your backside of your board. All right, so I'm going to move this aside, and we're going to go ahead and begin mixing my resin. And I was almost going to use my total boat. I just received that last week. That was before my surgery. But I have enough of my amazing Clear Cast Plus that I think I'm going to mix this up and use this. And so I'll be right back. Okay, so I've gathered my supplies, and just to share with you some of the things that you're going to need when you begin a resin project is you're going to need your resin, which in this case is going to be my amazing Clear Cast Plus. And it's part A and part B, 1 part resin to 1 part hardener. You're also going to need a graduated cup that can measure the amount that you need. Okay. You're going to need, I like to use various sizes of the stir sticks. I also have some that are silicone coated, so that I don't have to use and waste these. I actually wipe these off with my baby wipes, which is another thing you're going to need is baby wipes after I'm finished using them. And so I get multi-uses out of these. I also get multi-uses out of my cup when I'm done with it, my resin cup. Now I'm also going to want some smaller cups. So I might use a cup this size. I might use a cup this size. The paper ones are better than the plastic, but it just depends. Some resin products like alcohol inks don't like those thinner bathroom cups. They like to eat through them. And so that's why I have these when I'm mixing alcohol ink. Today I'm not, but this is what I grabbed. So I just like various sizes and cups, and that helps me break my resin that I mix in here down into smaller quantities so that I can mix my colors in the quantity size that I'm going to need. And most importantly, you need your gloves. You need to protect your skin, especially if you think you have an allergy. You need to be in a very well ventilated area, so doors or windows open, a good breeze blowing, and you need your organic vapor filtered respiratory mask. And so, and you need this wherever you are at during the mixing and curing process of that resin. It does not, you may not smell the fumes, but the vapors are in the air, and anyone that's exposed to them in the environment that the epoxy is curing is going to be exposed to those vapors. And so take precautions, because you never know who's going to be having an allergic reaction to the resin, and or an adverse reaction that may have long-term circumstances. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and put my respirator on, and I'm going to start mixing. Now I'm going to make sure that when I mix very slowly, because you don't want to whip your resin. You just want to take your time and slowly mix for 3 minutes, making sure that you scrape the bottom and the sides as you go. If you mix too fast, then what you're going to do is incorporate very small bubbles that are very difficult to get out of your project. My particular resin has about a 45-minute work time, which means by the time I've incorporated the resin thoroughly, I have about 40 minutes to work with it. Just a pretty long time. My total boat only gives me about 20 or 25 minutes. But I love that resin too. It gives a good, clean, shiny surface. Both of these resins are FDA approved, so that when they're cured, they're fine to use indirectly for food surfaces. I'm going to make sure that you get those sides and I like to scrape on a stick. You can see I've used this stick before because I've got color on it. It's clean, but it's where you wipe it off. These colorants are very strong, and you can leave traces of that color permanently behind. Now, no matter what, you're going to have bubbles in your resin, but your resin's going to continue to look very, very cloudy if you whip it, and that means those micro bubbles have been incorporated in, and it's going to be very difficult to get them out. Make sure you check with the manufacturer of each of your epoxy resin products to see what their shelf life is after your bottle's been opened, because epoxy does have a shelf life on it. And if you can find one that is free of VOCs and is BPA free and FDA approved, then that's pretty good. Be a little bit better for you to work with. So I have probably about 2.5 ounces of resin here. On my last one, it was a bigger board, and I poured 4 ounces, but it was way too much. I wasted a lot. This is probably still way too much, but I'm going to use just what I need, and then if I have leftover resin, I'll use them on other projects. So, all right, I think I'm about there. All right, so I'm going to let this sit over here for a minute, and I'm going to pull out my always keep your resin. I always keep it back in the box that it came in, and out of direct sunlight, because you don't want your resin to yellow. Nobody wants to throw that away. It's expensive. Okay, so I'm going to just use my smaller sticks here and put in a little bit of pigment in each one of my little cups. You want to make sure you stay probably about 5% or less of your color to the quantity of resin. And this is a beautiful dark blue pigment. Hopefully I've opened this. Oh yeah. And I'm going to use a little bit of a bigger stick for this. And you want to make sure that you've stirred that up and make sure that you've got all that super intense pigment that may have settled incorporated in really well to your paste. And if it's thick, you can put just a little bit of heat on it. You don't really want to do that too much, but sometimes if it's a colder day or whatever, you might have some thick spots in your pigment paste, no matter what the brand is. You just want to make sure that you incorporate everything. All right, I'm going to wipe my stick here, and I'm going to take just a tiny amount. I'm going to start with that amount, and I may come back and get some more. This is the first time I'm using this particular paste, and so we'll see how it works out for us. Okay. Now you want to elevate your piece so the resin has a place to flow from. I have these, my cups don't want to stand up, y'all. I have these little painter's pyramids that, well, that you can get them from anywhere. I got my particular ones from Amazon, I think. But you want to elevate your piece and on a very level surface. You may have to play around with what surface you use depending on what you're doing. Okay. think that's going to work out pretty good. Now I'm going to bring over my silicone mat. There we go. So it catches any other runoff. And I'm making a mess here. A mess, mess, mess. All right, I'm going to put, I'm making a mess, y'all. I have to put some more pigment in my cups because I just dropped them. But no doubt, no problem. I'm a little bit awkward right now. Had a lot of swelling and stuff, and so I'm definitely not myself, but I'm so much better than what I was. Now I'm going to go ahead and put some epoxy in this cup, and that'll help me to weight it down a little bit. Put a little bit more in this one because I like this color. Okay, I'll put some in this cup. Take my stick up. All right. And okay. I'll just go ahead and mix these and have them mixed very well. Again, don't whip it like I was trying to do. Beautiful color. Then my dark blue, darkest blue, I guess I should say. All right. Very dark, beautiful, deep, rich navy blue. Okay, so I'm going to let these sit for about 10 minutes and thicken up some. And when I return, then we'll get ready to pour. We'll see you soon. Okay guys, I wanted to show you what I've done. I've gone ahead and mixed in some Van Gogh glitter. I had just a little bit of resin left over, and I put enough of my Van Gogh glitter, which is a new glitter I just got as well from Day's Art Studio. And you can see that sparkle, it's just beautiful. And it had enough various colors, including the blues, that I felt like it would work for this. And so I decided that for this particular video, I would take, you can see what a little amount it is, but it does not take a lot. It does not take a lot to do what I'm about to do. You just put your resin in a sandwich bag. I probably just need to cut this off. This is a thicker bag. You can use just regular old sandwich bags. You can use pastry bags. I've used them all. So then just twist that in so that you've got your air out and you have some control. And then my resin is very much like a paste now because of all the glitter that I have in it. And so I'm just going to nip that edge off, and I'm going to create a line. I'm going to move my tape if I can get it off my glove. And I'm just going to create a work line for me. And because this is very thick, it should help keep my resin in place. And I might have to cut just a little bit more off my baggie here. Didn't want to come, but you can see how my line is. Just keep some consistent pressure. It doesn't have to be perfect because what we're doing needs to look natural. This is has various sizes of glitters. My bag's getting clogged up here. And so it has a lot of shine to it. And there's many products you can use that will do this very same thing. But since we're doing a resin tray, I wanted to use my resin and glitter. And that is going to make me enough of a line with a little bit of a bump on it. You can save this for later on when you pour your other colors. You can go back over some areas if you'd like. Okay. So I'm just going to lay this here. And that should be enough to help for our other colors to kind of stay on this side of the line. And our resin's had a chance to thicken, but it's not so thick it's not workable. Could be a little bit thicker, but we're just going to kind of go with it here. And I'm going to start in my middle. Okay, and I'm just going to go back and forth with my... Now when you have the paper cups, you can really just kind of bend those cups and use like a spout to help your resin stay in where you want it to. You don't have a lot of these drippies. But I really don't mind a more natural flow to mine, and eventually I'll probably put some heat on this, and it's gonna create, you know, let things kind of marry together anyways. I didn't want to use, the colors are gorgeous together. I didn't want to use a whole lot of the really dark color because I didn't want to overwhelm it, but it looks really good in this, and I'm enjoying seeing it. I'm just laying my other color down in other places. Sometimes you want to step back and look at your piece and see what you need. You don't always know when you're up close to it, so never be afraid to just kind of and I'll let my resin thick up so much that I actually may need to pour a little bit more resin, but we'll see. This is gorgeous. Don't be afraid to blend out your colors either. They usually, if you find colors that work together, they usually mix very well together as well. All right, go back to my sapphire here and leave some more of that in. And I might have just enough. I'm going to use some of my glitter here and put some extra lines in. having a hard time getting my glitter out of my bag. All right. Just enough there. Okay. I decided I think I'm going to just leave this. I like this. I think it looks great. And I think that's kind of where I'm going to leave it. Now what drips over the edges is what drips. I might go ahead and heat, oops, just put glitter all over my, resin all over myself. But what happens when you heat the resin up is that it makes it thinner and more likely for it to flow off the board. So another thing you can do, which maybe I'll do, is use some alcohol. This is just some alcohol that I put in a little spray bottle that's it's really been used, and just a spritz will help get rid of those surface bubbles, and then they're gone. So this is a really great alternative. I use 97 to 99% alcohol. Other people have had have had success with other strengths of alcohol, lesser strengths of alcohol. But this is just what I was always taught and what I prefer to use. So I'm going to let this cure. It'll take 24 hours and it'll stop dripping probably within an hour. I'm going to run my finger along the edge. Even though I have tape there, it helps me to control how much runoff sticks to that tape and makes it easier for me in the long run to get it off. And so I'm just gonna, and I don't really have much runoff because I waited for my resin to thicken and because I did not heat my resin afterwards. I gave myself a border. All these things help in your design, and I'd probably in about 3 or 4 hours may come back and add, maybe 5 hours, add some shell to it, but we'll see. We'll see how it is. I think this is really quite beautiful. If I put heat on this, it would move the colors and combine the colors, which is also very pretty. But this is still going to move for about an hour or so. So we'll see what happens with it. I like it the way it is. And we'll go from there. All right. We'll see you shortly. Okay, friends. And so it has been probably around 8 or 9 hours. My house was pretty warm yesterday. And so my resin cured a little bit faster than, or it's at least at a place where I could touch it. All right, and it hasn't been on a full cure. Now there's a difference between when your resin, you're able to actually touch it, or at least one of the puddles that has dripped off of it, and you don't get a residue on your hand. And by the way, you want to do that with a gloved hand. So at about the 12-hour mark, 10 to 12-hour mark, you want to test your resin, preferably in an inconspicuous area of your piece, and make sure it's to that point. Okay, and then very carefully you want to turn over your piece and you want to remove that tape. If you don't remove your tape now and it remains on there for the full 24-hour period, then it's going to be very difficult to get that tape off. And so I have gone ahead and I took my tape off and didn't realize that I had forgotten to turn my record button on. And so I did have a little bit here that bled over, but I'm okay with that. But for the most part, you can see that it turned out pretty clean, and I'm pretty happy with that. You know, you can be as particular as you want to with it. You can take an X-Acto knife, but because this is wood, I really didn't want to do that too much and scrape the finish off on my piece. So I just made sure that I have very smooth edges. You can take a piece of very fine sandpaper if you want to, because we are going to pour a flood coat. And a flood coat is just another layer over top of it. I'm probably going to add a few more embellishments. But I'm going to do that in my next video for you guys. This really was just to give you the basics on how to do and how to utilize your resin and make your board or any project. These are simply techniques that can be used on any of your resin projects, and have a completed piece. You can stop here if you want to. I'm going to take it to another level. But you can see how there are no bubbles in my finish at all. And so the alcohol that I used to pop those bubbles works super well, and it didn't thin my resin up like heat would, and I didn't lose a great deal of the resin that I had poured and took the trouble to thicken to stay on the board. So in my opinion, a little spritz or two of alcohol does the job perfectly. All right, so what I'm going to do is do a second video, a part 2, and that would be for the embellishments and flood coat. It more than likely won't be as long as this one, but there you go. Like I said, you can take an X-Acto knife to clean this up if you want to. You can take your heat gun. If your resin has stuck at all to the tape, you can take your heat gun. At this point, your resin is set enough, and just soften up that resin a little bit to let go of the tape so that you don't have any leftover tape on your board. All right, so you want to do that before your resin gets completely cured and almost impossible. You would literally have to go in with a sanding tool, and you don't want to have to sand onto your wood. So there we have it. I'll gather my supplies and we'll get ready for the next part. So I'll see you on the next video when we'll finish this piece up.